Batman Arkham City is a sequel to Batman Arkham Asylum and is just like Arkham Asylum, except instead of taking place in an asylum, it takes place in a city. I'm a frog, and in this video I wanted to do something I'd never done before, make a good YouTube video. 100% complete Arkham City. In my Asylum video, I based this on getting all the achievements, but to simplify things this time, I'm just focused on one achievement, Perfect Night Day 2, which is the achievement for getting a 100% save file. What exactly that entails, I'll go over throughout the video, but to give you an idea, I recorded 1.3 terabytes of footage, which is the most I've ever recorded for a video by a mile. Let's hop in. First things first, I had to start a new game and jump into the story. My journey began with a bunch of Two-Face cosplayers looking at a wall safe before getting greeted by Catwoman and a zipper that's holding on for dear life. The first combat of the game started, and it's with me as Catwoman, where I dismantled a group of evil murderers despite playing as a 130-pound woman. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne gives a speech about how Arkham City is bad until he gets arrested by ICE and taken into Arkham City as an inmate. After getting interrogated by Dr. Eggman, I broke out of a chair, broke a guard's ankle, and waited on a line. I beat up more inmates while handcuffed, but was ultimately Negan by one, then head stomped by the Penguin.
Nighty night.
But after waking up, I quickly got revenge by breaking Penguin's flipper and escaping. So if you don't know, Arkham City is basically like Escape from New York, where they took a chunk of Gotham City and made it into a prison for the worst of the worst and people the government doesn't like. But I'm not playing as Snake Plissken, I'm playing as Bruce Wayne, and after doing some building climbing, I found a free Batman suit and put it on to become the Cape Crusader. This is where Arkham City turns into a Batman game. I went to the courthouse where I had my first big fight as Batman, which maybe it's just in my head, but combat in this game at least feels a bit easier than it was in Asylum. Inside the courthouse, multiple personality man is holding Catwoman hostage over a comically large vat of acid, and Batman has to save her because he really cares about,
I'm sorry, I've been a bad kitty.
Justice. I inflicted physical pain on Two-Face's goon squad, but after knocking the last guy out, Harvey shoots Batman. Roll credits. Just kidding. Batman miraculously survived the single handgun shot and hangs Two-Face upside down above the Nickelodeon slime. Joker tries to snipe Catwoman with a happy gun, so Batman grabs her and pushes her out of the way, only to then not acknowledge her advances, Giga Chad, and I return to the sleepy streets of Arkham City, where my next stop was a local church. Inside the church, Harley Quinn comes running up to Batman to say hello, only for Batman to toss her to the ground because he doesn't believe in talking to women before marriage. Then Batman became a predator, and I had my first stealth section where the game holds your hand as you take down a few armed henchmen. I will say, I do like this game's stealth sections better than Asylum. They're more varied in terms of tactics and the locations they take place in. Not so much here, but later on in the game. How did you people let 4 guys capture you? Are you stupid?
This vexes me.
I climbed up the church tower, and once reaching the top, I found a remote control sniper rifle and a computer with StreamMe still running, which caused the tower to explode. I continued in my quest and discovered a couple Riddler trophies along the way. There are 400 Riddler challenges in the campaign that include solving riddles, doing certain things in combat, destroying certain objects, and so on, but most of them are just for grabbing these trophies hidden throughout the city. As you can probably surmise, unless you're stupid, I'll need to complete all 400 challenges to 100% the game. I glided and grappled my way to the steel mill where the Joker and Harley Quinn were hanging out and entered through a giant lava pit that would clearly be too hot for Batman to run through like this. So my final rating for Arkham City is a 0 out of 10. I can't believe my superhero game isn't realistic. I crawled through a crawl space under a horde of clown people before throwing batarangs and kicking Ronald McDonald ass. Harley Quinn yelled at me and I navigated through the steel mill silencing bad guys while they talked about getting a ride on Harley. They must not know she's a person and not a motorcycle. And I continued knocking the violent criminals unconscious instead of killing them so that they can wake up and someday brutalize innocent people once more. A doctor lady told us about Titans, so Batman grabbed an electrocute people gun that lets me also power up doors and generators and things. I beat up more poor people and returned to Joker's house where I was greeted by a one-armed steroid clown who's one of 2 lieutenant enemies, which are like mini-bosses. The game gave me a pop-up saying to electric charge him, but I would later learn that that's definitely not the best way to take them out, in my opinion.
Dude, I can't believe Frog doesn't like electric charging the lieutenant.
I found Harley crying at dead Joker's feet, rip bozo, only for the real Joker to pop out. Harley beats Batman with a baseball bat, and the game cut to Catwoman having an inner monologue. In the original Arkham City, this is DLC, but I was playing on the Game of the Year edition, which comes with all the DLCs, including Catwoman's. You may have noticed when I mentioned there being 400 Riddler challenges, the menu actually showed 440 because Catwoman has 40 of her own trophies and challenges to complete. Because it wasn't in the original though, they don't count towards 100%ing the game, and the Perfect Night Day 2 achievement doesn't require them, nor does the Platinum Trophy. So for that reason, I'm not worried about them. But either way, a few times in Arkham City, it cuts away from Batman and has you do stuff as Catwoman in the story, who is a different character and plays different as a result, but the core of it is still just beating up bad guys and quietly taking out armed bad guys by sitting on their faces. Catwoman goes inside Poison Ivy's lair, I Can Fix Her, where they get into an argument about something. I wasn't really paying attention to what they were saying. In this this leads to me having to fight off dudes who are infected by Poison Ivy's plant juice. She tangles Catfoid up in vines and looks not very happy, and the game cuts back to Batman, where Magic Joker informs Batman that he's now infected with Joker's blood that will kill him if he doesn't find a cure. My next task was to find Mr. Freeze, so I turned on my temperature tracker, which is in Celsius, much to my dismay. And my goal was to find the coldest point in Arkham City, which turned out to be the police station. I aggressively silenced bad guys, found a couple more Riddler trophies, hacked a radio to listen to Penguin broadcasts, and entered the police station where there's more of a classic Arkham stealth section with me grappling around overhead and picking guys off one by one before interrogating the last guy. Tell me where Freeze is.
Or else.
One change in Arkham City I don't like is that they seem to have made it impossible for me to murder bad guys by pulling them off high ledges with the bat claw. My next stop was a museum where outside I completed a Riddler challenge for getting my first 20 times combo, so there's an example of one that's not just grabbing a trophy. Inside the museum, I was attacked by guys with knives. I thought this was Arkham City, not London, and discovered my radio signals were being jammed. So I went back outside and had to destroy the Penguin's jammers by punching out 3 panes of glass on each of them, something you should not try at home. While looking for the next jammer, I rescued a political prisoner who was being attacked by another inmate. These randomly pop up throughout the city, and I'll need to do this 15 more times to complete a side quest. The next jammer was on a roof and guarded by guys with guns. I grabbed another Riddler trophy. The inmate started repeating my inner monologue, and the final jammer required me going to the old subway, but upon arrival, there were no footlongs in sight. I came across a few thugs talking about Solomon Grundy. This is what we call foreshadowing. One of Penguin's armed goons was talking about how he's not scared of Batman shortly before I cut off the oxygen supply to his brain and destroyed the last jammer. I returned to the museum where I could now use a password, Dino Sar, to get further inside, where I was introduced to my first body armor thug. To beat them, you just have to press the B button, then spam X, or circle, then square if you play on Loser Station. I talked to a cop with a bad haircut, grabbed some more trophies, and made it to the Gladiator Pit where Penguin asked Batman to surrender or else he'll throw more disposable henchmen at him. This was the biggest fight of the game so far, and in Phase 2 it has the first Titan of the game. Instead of bataranging them as they run like an asylum or slicing their nape like an Attack on Titan, in Arkham City you hit the B button 3 times and mash X, which then allows you to ride the Titan as he swings his arms around. Next up, I went into a room full of water and ice, and inside there are a few frozen police officers to rescue as well as a giant shark. I had a shark phase when I was a kid. Genuine question, like if this used to be a public museum, what is this room? After saving the last frozen police officer, I went into a new area with another stealth section where I wasn't particularly stealthy. After talking to Tom Miller, I returned to the swimming pool and ice walked to a room where I fought another scary one-armed guy before meeting a sickly member of the Blue Man Group. I grabbed a thing out of Mr. Freeze's suit and returned to the water room again, where now all the ice is melted, and periodically while rafting I'd have to fight off a megalodon. In the Iceberg Lounge, the Penguin was wielding Freeze's freeze ray, but using the thing I grabbed from Freeze's suit, I could disable his gun and uppercut him off a balcony. Actually, not only did this not kill Penguin, but he kept his wits enough to send Batman down to an electric room with Solomon Grundy, a Batman villain I had never heard of before this game who appears to just be a big zombie man. It took me a minute to figure out what to do. At first, I tried shocking him, then blowing up explosives at his feet, before realizing you just have to blow these things on the ground up. Then, of course, I simply punched the horror beyond my comprehension like any other thug. There are a couple more phases that are basically the same, but with a couple more elements to make it slightly harder, but nothing could stop me from winning the fight, ripping out his heart, then giving Penguin to Arnold Schwarzenegger. While talking to Freeze, Batman mentions Ra's al Ghul, who from here on out I'll call Ra's al Ghul because it sounds cooler, and saying his name activates a sleeper agent lady who busts out of a museum exhibit, cuts herself on the glass, and my next task was to follow her blood trail to see if I could fix her. I followed her blood trail, periodically stopping to take my unresolved anger out on inmates until I found the ninja girl herself and chased her through the rooftops, eventually catching her and planting a tracker on her back. She pins Batman down, Robin shows up to block, and she takes off. I followed her tracker to a giant hole in the ground that led to the sewers, where I immediately fell into a pit of water. Joker now has his own armored henchman who dressed like the Nutcracker. I destroyed Joker teeth on the floor as part of another Riddler challenge, got a little woozy, and had a stealth section where this time the curveball is that one of the bad guys has a jammer that makes detective mode not really work. This stops as soon as you take him out though. I saved a nurse who was wearing the most stereotypical nurse outfit I've ever seen and opened a door to Wonder City before collapsing and coughing blood on the ground, which is less than ideal. The main enemies in this area are more of the girl ninjas who, to be honest, gave me a lot of trouble, probably because Batman doesn't believe in hitting women. Batman grabbed a ninja and made her use her sword for him to open a secret door before breaking her fucking face, then crawled out of a manhole before collapsing, seeing the light, and his parents begging him to join them. Batman is skeptical though, since he's read the r/conspiracy post about how reptilian beings are real and the light when you die is a trap. Batman stumbles stumbles his way to a door and almost gets killed by ninjas before Talia al Ghul shows up, bringing our attractive major female Batman character count up to 4. We walk down a staircase where I failed the eye tracking challenge until I entered a room and drank from the Holy Grail, which transports me to a dreamlike section where you have to fly between points, and touching anything along the way kills you. Like happened to me here for what I think counts as my first death of the game, even though there wasn't a death screen. After fighting human clay and flying some more, I returned to reality where Talia took me to see her dad, who's seen better days to say the least. That is until Batman refuses to kill him and he activates the Get Young Again water, triggering a boss fight back in the dream world where I fight more clay ninjas as well as a giant Ra's al Ghul monster, while Talia continues to strut around like she's on a runway. After defeating Ra's al Ghul for the last time, he holds Talia hostage, and this is where I'm introduced to a new gadget, the Reverse Batarang, a gadget that I never used again in the entire game after this part. Batman sucks the blood out of Ra's al Ghul's neck, Talia rewards him for saving her life by breaking up with him, and now I had to get all the way back to the surface to make a cure for Batman's cough blood and prematurely see the light disease. I grabbed another couple trophies on my way out and came across shielded thugs who you have to stun punch and then mount. I took a detour to rescue Mayor Quincy Sharp from a few bad guys. Sharp you may remember as a warden of Arkham Asylum, and afterwards I held him over a ledge and asked him where were the other drugs going. To get a cure made, I had to go back to the police station and give Ra's al Ghul's blood to Mr. Freeze, who's a very trustworthy person that would never betray Batman. Mr. Freeze betrays Batman, and this leads to a boss fight that scared me a lot the last time I played this game when I was 11 years old.
Death is cold, Batman.
This fight is really cool, no pun intended. You have to hide from Freeze as he looks for you and wait to ambush him. Except once you do successfully ambush him, he adapts and whatever tactic you use no longer works. So every time you go after him, you have to change up your strategy. So at first I disabled his gun, that no longer worked after, then blew up a glass ceiling over his head. He froze over any other glass ceilings he saw to stop me from doing that again. I jumped out of a floor grate, he froze them all over after, and so on. Really great concept for a boss fight. After getting him a 5th time, I beat his face in, then opened the safe with the cure to discover it's stolen, and Mr. Freeze resumed talking to Batman like he didn't just try to murder him. I left the police station where a news chopper was shining a light on me before getting hit by a Stinger missile, and my new objective was to take out a few snipers and rescue the attractive newswoman while leaving the pilot for dead. Back to the main task, I had to return to the steel mill to get the stolen cure from Joker. After taking out a few guards, I went inside a completely new way through whitewater rapids on a block of ice thanks to a new piece of equipment courtesy of David Freeze. I tried to backclaw a bad guy into the water to kill him to no avail, so after beating them the old-fashioned way, I continued ice rafting while watching the Chiefs' first preseason game on my second monitor. I recorded this almost 3 months ago. The new Freeze Blast gadget also lets me block steam vents, letting me get more collectibles in previous areas, and I made it back to the main part of the steel mill where I was greeted by the doctor I saved earlier hitting me with a pipe. The next cell section's new twist was that there were mines all over the floor, but as long as I paid attention to where I was walking, they were no big deal. You can actually blow up the mines yourself when enemies are near them by using the Disruptor gadget, but at this point I didn't know that because, as mentioned a minute ago, I hadn't played this game since I was 11 years old. I got shot point blank by a shotgun and my health was taken down to the absolute brink, but I recovered, and at this point I still didn't have an undisputable death, just my mess up in Ra's al Ghul's DMT world, which I'm not sure counts as a death. I found Harley Quinn tied up with tape over her mouth, listened to her speak for a few seconds, then retaped her mouth, not letting her call for help and hopefully leading to her dying of thirst. I went back to Joker's funhouse where Joker was missing, so I went through another door where the old Joker looked to be good as new, and I had a fist fight with him where I beat him like a red-headed stepchild. So he called in reinforcements, and this turns into a more traditional Arkham fight, except with roller coaster cars occasionally passing by and running over whoever's on the tracks. It also has the return of one-armed clown man who I was still trying to electrocharge, then a Titan enters the fray, giving me both to deal with at once along with everyone else. I thought I was cooked, but with basically no health left, I defeated Art the Clown, then finished off the Titan. Right when Batman is about to beat the Joker up some more, debris falls on him and Joker is about to kill him, but Talia shows up to save the day, and by save the day I mean offer to make Joker immortal if he lets Batman live. Batman passes out, and finally after a few hours the game cuts back to Catwoman again as she smooth talks Danger Zone into not murdering her. My goal this go around is to break into a vault, so after taking on a few prison guards I crawled in a manhole and went into the sewer leading to the vault. This part actually gave me a bit of trouble. You have to pickpocket from 3 guards without being spotted and without knocking them out, and if you alert them or attack one, the vault gets permanently locked, you probably die, and then Hugo Strange tells you he wants to dissect your brain. That was my first definite death, and it wasn't my last as I messed this up a few times, mostly from just getting impatient. After getting all 3 key cards, Catwoman opens the vault, and now I had to knock everyone out. And I had another close call, but I did this my first try. I went into the vault, murdered an innocent plant, opened a briefcase full of gold, which is a good deal since gold has gone up $3,000 since this game's release. I fought a few more guards, carried the briefcases, then she deliberates on if she should go save Batman or not. The drama, it's like an old TV show. Man, will Catwoman go save Batman? Find out after this. Asphalt Legends is a free-to-play arcade game where you not only drive fast and turn left, but also turn right with its wide variety of courses, all having different layouts and turns, twists, shouts, etc. The courses would be pretty pointless without cars to drive on them, so Asphalt Legends gives you over 280 different kinds of real cars to choose from, including various Ferrari models, so you can race in style as you embarrass your competition. Or get embarrassed. It happens to the best of us. Asphalt Legends is currently running the Ferrari Esports Asphalt Series competition, where the best 8 players will go to Maranello, Italy for the finals on November 15th and 16th. Here's the thing though, this is a competition, but if you're like me and you aren't very good, you can still win prizes just by registering. You'll instantly earn 250,000 credits, 250 tokens, and there are raffle prizes you can win like an Omen gaming laptop. So if you want a chance to win the competition, first go download Asphalt Legends using my link in the pinned comment or description, or by scanning the QR code on screen. It's available on any platform, PS5, PS4, Xbox, Switch, PC, mobile, and then register for the Ferrari Asphalt Series at FerrariAsphaltSeries.com. Just by registering, you'll win free in-game rewards and a chance to win exclusive prizes, but this ends November 3rd, which if you're watching this video the day it comes out is tomorrow, so get on it. Good luck, and thanks to GameLoft for sponsoring this video. The game cut back to Batman with Catwoman saving him. Amazing how the two stories intertwine and come together. Bravo, Vince. Dr. Strange tells his guards to execute Order 66 and murder every inmate, including Batman and all the other political prisoners who don't belong, so to stop him, I first have to go around the city scanning helicopters to get codes. The problem is, if you get spotted by the helicopters, they obliterate you, and I had my first 100% legit death as Batman. After scanning the right helicopter, my next task was to go back to the Undercity, fight rat ghouls, talk to the nursing intern again, have a stealth section where this time they have X-ray goggles to see me even when I'm in the dark. Once I'd taken out the last guy, I entered the password to the elevator, obsessed her mind, and waited as it slowly went up. I had another fist fight, then climbed up Wonder Tower in an interesting platforming section, and I mean that completely seriously. This is just a solid bit of building climbing. And at the top of the tower is a stealth section, and by far the most difficult area for stealth in the entire game, although this specific fight still wasn't too bad, but strap in because this is not the last time you'll see it. I broke into the principal's office where a beard but no mustache man talks up a storm before Ra's al Ghul appears out of nowhere and swords him through the chest. Then with his last words, Strange blows up the tower. Ra's commits YouTube community guidelines violation, and my final objective was Talia al Ghul and Joker. To get into the final area, there's a funny puzzle with a bunch of snipers all looking at the door and each other, and you have to figure out the proper sequences to take each out without getting spotted. I failed a couple times because I'm stupid. Until eventually I made it inside the movie theater where Jeff Moreau and Talia were on stage before she stabs him through the heart and gives Batman the cure. Joker is dead, Batman has a cure, and they can now live happily forever after. The dead Joker rises and reveals himself to be Clayface, who's significantly more scary in this game than he was in Lego Batman. This boss fight is a bit of a letdown after the freeze one. You just spam freeze blasts and dodge his attacks, hopefully leading to him rolling into explosive barrels. Once his health is low enough, you pull the sword out of his back and slice him up. This goes on for a couple of phases, the last of which takes place in Ra's al Ghul's room, where you fight Clay people as well as Clayface, and this did get a little dicey for me, but was still ultimately a non-issue. I penetrated Clayface, tearing him apart from the inside. Batman drank half the cure, Joker fucking died, and that was the end of the main story, but I had one more epilogue bit with Catwoman. In summary, she goes to her hideout, gets blown up, wakes up and beats Two-Face's guys up. Then as Catwoman, you go through the museum that's now stocked by Two-Face henchmen. It ends with the stealth section against Two-Face that's kind of tricky, and I died a couple times, blah blah blah. She punches him in the face, and I was now back as Batman, and it was time for me to clean up these side quests, as well as collect whatever Riddler trophies I come across. The first side mission started with me coming across a guy who had his face cut off, so that's not very nice. I followed a blood trail, talked to another guy, and that quest was on hold for now. I answered a payphone, and this starts another side quest where Zaz, the bald maniac from Asylum, randomly calls phones around the city, and you have to answer them. Once you do, Zaz sends you off to find another ringing phone, and if you don't answer in time, he murders someone. Once you do answer, he tells you a schizo story about murdering someone, and you have to go through this answering phones enough times until eventually you track down his hideout, jump through his office, and Maynard James Keenan will never harm anyone again. I went to a waypoint called Cure Drop-Off Point, which is a little fishy since I'm already cured, but Batman swigs it into his neck anyway, passes out, and wakes up at a tea party. While wearing a rabbit mask, I fought other evil bunnies in a dream world before waking up and standing over the Mad Hatter. At a few spots around Arkham City, a mysterious Deadpool ninja man says cryptic things and leaves symbols which appear on the map after, and once you get all of them, they make something that looks like the Disney Channel logo, and then you find him and he tells you about his vague secret society, probably Scientology. I went back to the church where the Riddler had kidnapped all the people I saved earlier. After saving one of them at the courthouse, I got this riddle machine, and basically the way this questline works is, as you complete Riddler challenges, more Riddler missions get unlocked where you save hostages. hostages. So these missions I just had to do on the side between other things as I gathered up more Riddler stuff. One nice thing is that once you activate this Riddler questline, henchmen highlighted green start popping up who you can interrogate to get some of the Riddler secrets marked on the map. So every time I saw a green guy, I made sure to interrogate him. I talked to a scary looking old guy who gets sniped directly in front of Batman. A few of these sniper victims pop up throughout the city, and upon tracking bullet trajectories and doing JFK movie stuff, we figure out his Deadshot, find where he's hiding his stuff, save one of his targets from being killed, and it ends with kind of a boss fight where you just gotta sneak up on him. There are these augmented reality things where you just fly through waypoints, and after completing the first few, you get a grapnel boost, which is incredible for navigating the city faster. Then there are a few more training challenges after that for fun. I found a secret door that led to another secret room where the guys are secretly making inappropriate remarks about Freeze's wife, who's secretly being stored here, so after taking care of them, I told Freeze a secret, and he discreetly went to go get her, completing the side quest for me. I next went into a toy factory where I met Bane. He wants help blowing up Titan barrels hidden around Arkham, but I had already been doing this, so I only needed to blow up one more. I returned to Bane, we fought some bad guys, he double-crossed Batman, and that was that. I went to the site of Batman's parents' homicide and pressed F to pay respects. Hours after the first one, I finally found the following face cut-off victims before finding the hideout of the guy who did it. And like I mentioned earlier, there are still the political prisoners around being beat up that I need to save, but I didn't really worry about actively looking for them. Just as I did other stuff, I would come across them and deal with them then. I did collect a lot of Riddler secrets, not in any organized fashion though, since I had a ton left. I didn't think it really mattered. I got through a few of the hostage missions and decided that was good for now. Whenever you complete the main story, you unlock New Game Plus, which is cool. It lets you go back through the main story with all your unlocked gadgets and level ups and everything. Unfortunately for me, completing New Game Plus is also required to 100% the game and get the perfect Night Day 2 achievement. So I booted up New Game Plus and had to do the entire story over. But not only that, all those side quests I just went over, I had to do them again in New Game Plus. You heard that right. Everything that has happened so far in this video, I had to do twice, in a regular game and in New Game Plus. I'm not gonna go into detail about New Game Plus. The biggest difference that makes the game harder in New Game Plus is that there's no indicator that pops up over guys' heads when they're about to punch you, which if you're only fighting a couple guys at a time, it's not that big of a deal, but whenever you get into fights against big groups, it does get kind of tricky to keep track of and keep your combo up and not get hit. The Freeze boss fight is a lot harder. Instead of only needing to ambush him 5 times, you have to do it like 10 times, and every time it still has to be a different strategy. The good thing is the Riddler challenges carry over, so if I collect a trophy in New Game Plus, it carries over to the regular save and vice versa. I don't know what else to say about New Game Plus except that I did the entire story and all the side quests a second time. Except the Riddler missions. I decided to take a break from those and do Riddler's Revenge. If you aren't familiar with Riddler's Revenge, it's one of the worst things ever made by a human. So Arkham Asylum has challenge maps, and this is a continuation of that, except significantly worse. You may ask yourself why this video took me so long to make. These maps are why. There are 2 types of challenges, physical and predator. I started with the physical, and they're straightforward. You're dropped in a fist fight, there are 4 rounds, and you get medals by reaching different score thresholds that change on each map. It's not enough for me to just get through each challenge without dying. To 100% the game, I have to get 3 medals on all of these maps besides a few extra DLC ones. All the main maps are used twice, the second time being extreme, so it's just the same map but even harder. These physical challenges honestly weren't that bad though. I had trouble specifically with Joker's Funland, but it was entirely a skill issue. The more I played, the less tough these got, and by the time I'd finished them all, they were a cakewalk to me. What was not a cakewalk were the Predator challenges. I don't have words for how terrible these are. Nonetheless, I will try because it is my job to speak to you on video. So Predator, as you can guess, they're stealth challenges, but they're not just take out every guy without being seen or score-based or whatever. The medals and Predator challenges are based on doing certain things in the challenge. For example, on the second Predator map, the medal objectives are explode a weak wall into a henchman to knock him out, during a silent takedown, perform a knockout smash, and perform a takedown through a glass window. You may be saying, well, that doesn't sound too bad, and you're right. The regular maps still aren't that hard. What is excruciatingly hard are the extreme maps, and I had to learn game mechanics that I didn't even know exist. Like on this extreme map, you have to do a takedown through a vent cover. I legitimately did not know that was a thing. Shout out to this guy, Batman Arkham Videos, for his guides. They're really good. Even if you don't copy them exactly, they at least give you like ideas for how to do things. And even still, in Arkham Asylum, you didn't have to do all 3 medals in one go. You could do a couple one attempt and then do the one you missed the next attempt, and boom, you got all 3. Not in this game. The objectives individually may still not be that bad, but you have to do all 3 in one go. And like I said, on the extreme maps, the challenges get stupid. Like here you have to kick 1 henchman while on the line launcher, then fire another line and kick another henchman, knock over another guy off a ledge with a remote batarang, and oh yeah, you also have to complete the entire map without taking damage. The worst of these maps is Top of the World Extreme. I watched a guide for this one from a guy named PowerPix, shout out to him, and he has a really good strat for getting the first 2 medals for shooting an armored henchman into another one with the electric gun, and for using freeze grenades to freeze 3 henchmen at once. But even with those being really consistent with the strats I was using, just clearing this building sucked. The third objective was just to take out a henchman with a beatdown, like, whatever. But I just could not get through this challenge. It's such an awkward space to try to be stealthy, and one of the guys has a jammer, so detective mode doesn't even work. But I did, of course, eventually get it, or else you wouldn't be watching this video. So you may be saying, great job, Frog, you don't have to worry about those again.
Wrong!
If all this game had were really tough challenge maps, then whatever, like it would still be hard, but it wouldn't be the worst thing I've ever done. But it doesn't. It also adds something called campaigns. These are where you do 3 challenges in a row, where it does a mix of physical and predator challenges. You have to get all 3 medals in each challenge, and in the whole campaign across all 3 maps, you can only retry 3 times. So if you blow all 3 retries on the second map, that means if you make it to the third map, you have no more retries and have to do it first try. And if you don't, you lose all progress and have to start the campaign over from map 1. But wait, there's more. In the campaigns, you also have to add modifiers. There's a couple modifiers that help you, but for the most part, they all make things harder. It gives you the list of modifiers and you choose which map to activate them on, so you can strategize and just try to load up all the toughest ones on the first map. Whatever ones you don't use by the end, you have to use on the third map, so ideally you get them out of the way before then. But yeah, this took me hours. The final campaign for me was called Predator Master, and this one took me so many tries. It's only extreme predator maps, which like I said, were tough enough on their own, let alone having to do 3 of them all in a row. The modifiers I chose on the first map were to add a time limit and to increase enemy aggression. The first medal was to do an inverted takedown through a glass ceiling, which is easy enough. The second was for doing a reverse ledge takedown, which just looks like this. And the third medal was for saving the radar jammer henchman for last. Get choked out, idiot. On map 2, I had Protective Aura, where one henchman is invincible, and this invincibility aura moves around between henchmen. I had another modifier to add random mines all over the map, and then one of the good modifiers to give me a free medal, so I only had to accomplish 2 of the objectives. I had to use a retry immediately, though, in my first attempt because I ran into a mine, so that sucked. Then I had to use another retry on attempt 2 because I got spotted right away. We're off to a tremendous start here, folks. So on try 3, I decided to just take things slower and not be so impatient. I grappled to a gargoyle and got my first medal of this map for doing an inverted takedown on a goon with thermal goggles. I caught another henchman not paying attention, then placed explosive gel in front of a weapons crate to set up the second medal I was going for. Then I got shot and killed for a third death, and I was now out of retries. So this map, I had to get my next attempt, and then map 3, if I got there, I would have to do first try. Medal 1 for gargoyling the X-ray goggles guy, check. I took down all but one henchman, then put explosive gel in front of the guns again. I disabled his gun, got myself spotted on purpose, and when he went to the gun crate to get a new one, I blew him up to get the second medal. And since I had the free medal modifier again, that was all I needed, and I was on to the last map where I only had 1 modifier left to make the gargoyles overhead have explosives on them that blow up if I land on them. There are 2 snipers on this map that pretty much one-shot you if they see you, so right off the bat I disabled one's gun, then turned to my left to freeze another guy. He'll break out of it eventually. This doesn't count as knocking him out. But in the meantime, a henchman climbed up a ladder to investigate, and this is an easy way to get the first 2 medals, 1 for knocking a henchman off a ladder, and 2 for knocking a henchman out by blowing him off a ledge with an electric gun. An element that makes this map really hard is that all the henchmen are armored, so regular silent takedowns where you sneak up behind them and choke them out, they don't work. I had to come up with other strategies to take them out. I went to the second of the 2 snipers and played it extremely safe by just throwing a sonic batarang at his feet and blowing him up. I couldn't use that gadget again for the rest of the challenge though. This map has a detective mode jammer henchman, and the third medal is for taking him out last. So I couldn't use silent takedowns, couldn't move around overhead on the gargoyles, and didn't have detective mode, so a lot of the time I didn't know where anyone was. This turned into a waiting game. After several minutes of waiting, I finally saw one opportunity to do a ledge takedown on a henchman, only to then run into the radar henchman who shotgunned me in the face. I didn't want to attack him, and I panicked and couldn't find the smoke pellet tool, and I'll just let you watch what happened. My health was now down to the deep red with 2 more henchmen left alive. I had to wait for them to separate and for me to get an opportunity, because if I got shot again, I was dead. And I would have to restart this entire campaign over again. And boy, did I wait. Until 21 minutes into the challenge, when I froze the jammer guy in place, beat up the other guy, then did an ice smash on the frozen guy, barely getting through my last campaign. Look at all those medals! With that done, I went back to New Game Plus and started really hunting the Riddler challenges. In the menu, there's a screen that shows you your progress for each area of Arkham City, so I just took it one area at a time, and by this point, I had interrogated enough guys to have everything marked on the map, so it was just a matter of going around the map in one area, getting everything marked off, going to the next area, doing everything there, and so on. Once I'd completed all 400 of the Riddler challenges, I found his hideout where he has the rest of the hostages in a scene that looks like a Saw movie, so I stopped him, and bada bing, bada boom, the Riddler is defeated. Except I now had to go back to the regular game and do the rest of the Riddler missions there too. So after defeating him a second time, I was done. Save file at 100%, perfect night, day 2 unlocked. And I'll say Arkham City is a really, really good game, but I wouldn't wish trying to 100% it on my worst enemy. If you like this video, be sure to watch my Arkham Asylum 100% video. Thanks to my patrons like always for supporting the channel. Link in the description if you would like to join. Goodbye.